Welcome, everyone, to a very special edition of the Archangel podcast. This very day, we bring to you a story that has special meaning to one of our staff community in particular. We think that Miss Calandra will really enjoy this story being read out loud. Miss Calandra wrote this story in 1992. You might know her better as Mrs. Kennedy. When Mrs. Kennedy was becoming a teacher, she wrote a story as part of a class project. And she is now going to hear this story being read out loud for the first time by some mystery teachers. So without further ado, please join me for a dramatic rendering in one take of the story Carl's Collection by Caterina Calandra, also known as Mrs. Kennedy.
Carl was a little boy who loved to collect things. He particularly liked to collect bugs from his backyard. Carl had collected over 1,000 bugs, which he kept in jars all over his room. Sometimes Carl would forget to put the lids on the jars, and some of the bugs would get loose. This made Carl's mother very upset.
Leave them in the yard where they belong,
She would say, but Carl never did. Carl liked bugs, but he longed to collect bigger animals, lions, tigers, and bears, like the big game hunters he had seen on TV. Carl decided that he'd had enough of bug collecting. It was time he set out to do what he'd always wanted to do.
Yes.
Said Carl.
Today is the day that I'm going to start my animal collection.
There was only one problem. How was he going to collect these animals? He didn't want to hurt them like the game hunters. Carl was always fascinated with his mother's appliances. He enjoyed watching the blender bend, the food processor chop, but he especially loved to watch the vacuum cleaner suck up all the pennies, pieces of bread, and marbles. Once it even sucked up his shirt by mistake.
That's it.
Carl thought to himself.
The vacuum would be perfect for collecting animals, since it does such a good job collecting everything else.
Carl took the vacuum cleaner out of the closet, but soon found the cord wasn't long enough. He searched around the house, looking for all the extension cords he could find. He even went to the Bukowskis across the street and borrowed their extension cords. He then went to Murray's, the Buntings, the Holdings, and so on, until he had all the extension cords on his block. Carl attached all the cords together to make one very, very long cord. He was greatly pleased with himself.
Wouldn't Mother be proud of me?
Thought Carl.
Maybe I should show her.
But Carl remembered that he and his mother didn't always agree, especially about his collections. He decided he would show her later. Carl then set off on his journey. He wondered if it would work. So he started off by sucking up a few stray dogs and cats.
Meow.
Even a garter snake or two. Carl wasn't too happy though, because he wanted big animals. Where would he find them in his neighborhood? Carl soon realized the road he was on led to the animals reserve. He could hardly believe his good fortune. Now he could collect all those exotic animals he loved so much. Once inside the animal reserve, Carl was ready. Slurp went the vacuum cleaner. First a tiger, then a monkey, and a giraffe went in. Slurp, a snake and a parrot joined the group.
Let me out of here.
Slurp, even a big hippopotamus. Soon Carl had a large collection of animals, and the vacuum began to get very heavy. The extension cords were almost at their limits.
All I need is the whale from the aquarium.
But as he got closer to the whale, the extension cords came unplugged.
Oh well, he wouldn't fit in the bathtub anyway.
Happy with his collection, Carl headed home. He ran to his room. He quickly put the vacuum cleaner on reverse, and all the animals popped out into their new home. Being squeezed into a tiny vacuum cleaner wasn't very comfortable, but Carl's room wasn't much better. The giraffe's head was sticking out of the window, and animals were all over the place. But even so, Carl was overjoyed.
These are much better than bugs.
He yelled. The animals at first did not know where they were, and soon they began to cry. This surprised Carl very much. He was happy. Why weren't the animals in his collection happy? The animals missed their old homes. Even though he could give them much love, it didn't make them feel any better. Carl now realized the animals had their own homes, and they were much happier in the animal reserve, where they had more room. He could still call them his collection and go visit them whenever he wanted. Carl patted each animal on the head, then turned on the vacuum and sucked them up. He dragged the heavy vacuum and returned the animals to the animal reserve. One by one, he put the animals back where he had found them. When he arrived home, Carl was greeted by his mother.
Hello, dear.
His mother said.
Hi.
Replied Carl.
You know, Mom, today I learned something.
What's up, dear?
Asked his mom.
I learned that everyone and everything has its own place where it can be happy and secure. I think I'm going to put my 1,000 bugs back where I found them.
Carl was very happy with that news.